Reddit Martian back with another tip-top video for you. r/AskReddit. What is your kid walked in during snoo story? When I was 12 I stayed the weekend at my mom's co-worker's house with her 4 daughters and 1 son. The son had 2 of his friends over as well. While we were all in the basement the son and his friends pranked us, so we ran upstairs to tell his mom. When we burst through her door she was on the receiving end of some back shots from a gentleman caller she snuck in lol. That scared us even more, so we ran back in the basement. Now that I think of it, I don't even think they stopped. She definitely never came down to check on us. My mother didn't find out until she went to work that Monday. I never went back over there again. Which sucks because other than that awkward moment, I actually had a great time. Back shots. Urban Dictionary unclear. Not me, but a cousin. She heard her grandma moaning, so she thought she was hurt. So she ran downstairs to check on her. Then she walked in the room and saw her grandma on top of her grandpa. She is still scarred. I'm scarred now. Grandpa over there playing Tomb Raider. I was the kid. I was in high school, so not super young. I needed something from my parents' bathroom. I had no idea they were in their room having snoo. I thought they were downstairs watching TV. Walked into the scene of my naked mother on top of my naked father. I said, yikes, and hightailed it out of the room. My mother came into my room a bit later and asked if I was okay. I said, I will be if we never speak of this again. Lol, exactly. Do you want to talk about it? No. Duck, no, I do not want to talk about this. My wife's mom is over. She decides to be nice to me, so sends her to the park with our daughter. Then my wife orders me up to the bedroom and to strip and wait for her in the bed. I do as I'm told. Wife puts on some nice little sexy robe thing. Thankfully nothing too kinky. More cute. Proceeds to climb into the bed, and at this point just tells me to lay back and relax and is going down on me. Just in the nick of time we hear footsteps running up the stairs. So she pulls back, throws a blanket over me and then curls up beside me like she's hugging me, then throws her leg up over me to hide my happiness. Door opens and it's our daughter, who had to come back for one more hug. Jumps up in the bed, sees us hugging and comes in for a family hug. It was so uncomfortable and weird, and then daughter takes a long time, so grandma comes up to make sure everything is okay. Walks in and just stares at us and knows immediately what is going on. Could have been much worse, but that's the one and only time before locks were put on doors. My son was about 4 the first time he walked in on my husband and I. He ran out of the room screaming. I saw butts moving in the dark. We have one of those baby monitors which connect to the phone. Naturally, when we moved our son's crib from our room to his, we started sleeping with the monitor connected all through the night. Also, our bedroom became somewhat more active with him gone. One night my wife wanted to make things a bit more special, so she put on some lingerie, had some music playing and danced for me. I was half undressed with her on my lap when suddenly the loudspeakers crank and make a sound like starting a holly. As it turned, the phone and with it the baby monitor were plugged into the sound system, and our son had passed wind loud enough for monitor to pick it up, and then it got amplified by the system. So naturally, I had a laughing fit, and my poor wife wasn't best pleased about her farting son and his infantile father. Not exactly a kid, but it was when I lost my virginity. I was 17. We had just finished, both lying on our backs in the pitch black dark. Her younger brother, 3 years younger I think, walked in and said, "Hey, not my name." I was mortified. She said, "It's not my name. Go away." Was pretty awkward when I went downstairs to him and their mother sitting on the sofa. 16 years old. Told my folks I'd be spending the night at a friend's house. My sister was out of town with friends. My brother was also doing a sleepover at the next door neighbors. My host got sick and his mother sent me home. We had a rule that when the kids got home from being out, they had to check in with mom and dad. Yup, walked in on them. Full on doggy style. That was almost 40 years ago. still seared into my brain. Christ. I was at my dad's as a preteen 12, 13ish, and it wasn't even nighttime, it was early evening. I was in my room and writing in my diary. I had visited a museum earlier that day with dad and his wife and forgot how the name was spelled, so I went over to their room to ask. I even knocked at the door and heard yes, which in my country is equivalent to come in when someone is knocking. So I opened the door and see my dad on top of his wife, thankfully covered waist down with a blanket. But the truly weird part was they tried to play it down like they weren't doing anything, so as I start apologizing, they just go, no problem. What did you need? So I play along with the general awkwardness, ask my stupid spelling question, get my answer, say thanks, quickly leave and remain in my room for the rest of the evening. I did not write that part down in my diary, as I was pretty sure I wouldn't soon forget it. When I was 17, my whole family went up to our cottage. This included grandma and great grandma. There was a couple in the cottage next to us who brought their niece with them. She was like 15, but really cute. We ended up hitting it off, mostly because I had a car and a motorcycle, dirt bike, and was like the only person on the lake near her age. After a few days of flirting and whatnot, we ended up hooking up. We made out a bit on the boat and decided to take it into the bedroom. This was at like 4:30 in the afternoon. As we're getting frisky with one another, both buck naked, my great grandma walks into the room, assuming I had gone in to take a nap, to let me know dinner was almost ready. Grandma saw what was going on doggy style and giggled. She then proceeded to tell us not to worry, she wouldn't tell anybody, and that she used to do the same thing all the time when she was younger. She died having never told anybody. Grandma ain't no snitch. My story is from the other side of the proverbial door. But once when I was young I was scared awake by a horrible nightmare. Too old to cry but not too old to need to go and sleep in my parents' bed for the rest of the night. I picked up my favorite teddy bear and made my way to my parents' room. Just about to open the door when I heard the sounds coming from the room. Decided my nightmares would be less harrowing than walking in on them, so I covered my bear's ears and begrudgingly took myself back to bed. I was 3, too short to get a cup from the elevated cupboards and get a drink of water. My sister wouldn't do it for me, so I disobeyed the stay downstairs directive and have an image burned in my head of my parents having snoo. It's been 30 years, and it's still in my brain. Not a kid but my mom, at my mother's huge house for a holiday, and all my family is there. My wife at the time was riding me and my mother does that little 2-knock thing and just opens the door. She sees what is happening, but instead of saying oops or sorry she leaves the door open about 6 inches and just turns her head so she is focused right on my face and starts asking me questions about breakfast and what we are doing that day. I am like, do you seriously want to discuss this right now? I am laughing my butt off. He says, oh, no I suppose not, and shuts the door. Bless my freak of an ex-wife. She just kept going the whole time. Didn't stop for a second. Moved home to care for my mother who had a stroke and needed assistance. While there, I hooked up with a girl I'd had a crush on during high school. She was a single mother with a 3-year-old daughter and lived in a mobile home with thin walls. Her kid walked in while we were banging. Girl was upset thinking I was hurting her mom. Mom took her back to bed. It was a while before she came back. My hard-on was long gone. Resume snoo. Girl walks in again as her mom is sucking me. Mom takes her back to bed and again takes a long time to settle her in. At that point, I needed to be home to check on my own mother, so I got dressed and left. We had uninterrupted snoo the next week, but the whole situation was kind of depressing. For duck's sake, lock the goddamn door. This story is creepy AF. When I was like 14, my family visited and stayed at my cousin and her husband's house for the holidays. Anyways, her husband had an Xbox and me being a kid I was playing on it almost religiously. So I was playing in the middle of the night and Realized there was one game missing that I wanted to play and I knew it was in their room, so I get up, knock on the door. Nobody answers. I decided to take charge of the situation and open the damn door. My cousin jumped in embarrassment, her husband just sat there laughing, and I stood there shocked for like a second, saw the game, said oh there it is, took it and walked out. I just heard them laugh at it for a bit through the wall and then later heard them continuing, which was hinted to me by the bed spring squeaking. Found out the morning after. I was in the kitchen making breakfast while my So was sitting at the table playing on her phone. In walks So's daughter. Mommy, is gimme 3 strokes pee-pee okay So? What? Why would you think there is something wrong with his pee-pee, daughter? Well, I saw you kissing it last night and you kissed it for so long and gimme 3 strokes was making noise like he was in pain. So somehow turned white and red at the same time. Come on honey, let's go get dressed so we can go to Chuck E. Cheese later. As they were walking upstairs I heard her daughter say, well gimme 3 strokes be okay. I really like playing the games with him. The fact that you used your Reddit name instead of literally anything else makes this sound a lot worse. So I was dating this girl with kids, one of whom was shirt. I dunno. He was ducked up. Loved the little guy, but he'd try to run away from home in the middle of the night, bang his head on shirt. Hell, once he silently made a pile of furniture next to the front door in the middle of the night, so he could reach the lock we'd put on the top of the frame. Then he went and ran naked laps around the block until sunup. I think he was 4. Anyways, he ended up with a lock on the outside of his door at night, yeah I know. And he turned to kicking the door until someone would come. When they stopped coming he kicked until he broke his little toes. So he had to wear little soft booties to bed and the bottom of his door was covered in 6 inches of fluffy foam. Apparently sometimes he'd spend hours softly kicking the foam. Eventually it escalated and he started clawing at the door too. They weren't even sure if he was awake for it, and he was the sweetest little fella during the day. So anyways, I'm playing his mom in the next room, like balls deep while she's tied up like a modern art exhibit. For reasons that will be obvious once you try it, we are in front of a wall-length mirror. I'm up on one leg, and she looks like a cat that just slipped off the ceiling. And I'm just getting my second hand inside when the mirror falls on my face. Like, 1 second I'm looking her in the eye, and then there's a bang and then suddenly I'm falling while looking in a mirror that's also falling. By the time I manage to sort myself out and look up, it looks like a 3-foot tall assassin is busting through the drywall. Little leather gloves and boots are banging through, making puffs of wall dust. Shirt is flying everywhere. I'm surrounded by broken glass. She's helpless. Her door is locked from the inside because of the other times that her other kids barged in. So we're basically just stuck there watching as he smashes a big hole in the wall between the 2 bedrooms. Anyways, that was the night that I learned everything I told you at the start of the post. You were fisting the Kool-Aid man's mom. Stories like these comments are why my wife and I lock the door when we go at it. One guy in here got his wall broken through even though the door was locked. Be careful. My parents haven't had snoo in 19 years. That's how old I am. Not with each other they haven't. Do you know what you are? That's right, you're a champ. Thanks for watching. Like and share if you enjoyed, don't forget the bell. Subscribe for more videos. See you soon, Martians.